Hello again, I am Blunty, and this is Tom Clancy's The Division 2, which I and everyone else on the planet will, I think it's fair to say, just call The Division 2. Possibly even just Division 2. Or maybe Div 2. Or if I get real lazy, D2. Because let's face it, Tom Clancy's The Division 2 is a clumsy ass name. I mean, come on, does Tom Clancy even have anything to do with these games anymore? Do you know who Tom Clancy is? Is he still alive? Who knows? Anyway, if you've got the screen for it, you are watching this, I hope, at 4K 60 frames per second. Because that's how I played it, that's how I recorded it, and it was glorious. This gameplay session was recorded at E3 2018, the first gameplay that has actually been shown off for this game. And they gave us controllers. I don't know why they gave us controllers and did not instead give us a keyboard and mouse for a shooter game, as I would have. Because let's face it, at 4K 60 frames per second and looking as glorious as this does, I'm pretty certain we were running the dev build of this game on PC hardware anyway, weren't we?
You're closing on the control point. I'm seeing multiple hostiles.
Pick your spot and plan. You don't want to just rush into this.
The game is coming out on Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. I have no idea, actually, if the PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X variants of the consoles will do this game at native 4K or not, or at 60 frames per second or not, but I doubt they'll do both at the same time. Be nice though, wouldn't it? Look how good this looks. And by the way, just so we're all clear here, you can expect to be triggered pretty hard while watching the gameplay. I'm fully aware of how much I am sucking. I'm kind of embarrassed to show you this, but it's the only gameplay footage that I got. I don't usually play squad-based shooters. I don't usually play shooters with thumbsticks. And this was my very first hands-on with the game, and this game series at all, for that matter. And to be honest with you, I actually did much better in my warm-up session, where they quickly led us through the controls and an easier version of the fights you're about to see. And I was told after the session that the difficulty setting had been mixed up somehow, so I don't know whether that means I was sucking on something that was too easy, or I was sucking on something that was way too hard than what it was meant to be, but either way, I know I suck. All of my excuses aside, the game did feel really good.
Vitals at critical levels.
The game is being developed for Ubisoft by Massive Entertainment, and there's a strong messaging being pushed that they've been listening hard to the feedback from the community of players of the first game. The first game kind of flopped at first, and then it had kind of a soft reboot where they tried to fix everything, and basically it relaunched. And when it relaunched, it was received much more positively. In fact, I think at this point it's fair to say the first game was quite a success, eventually. But among the criticisms of the first game addressed here in the sequel include more actual game content at launch, that's always nice, isn't it, and a better end game experience. The game is currently slated for release on the 15th of March next year, but let's face it, it's an Ubisoft game, isn't it? So that date may slide around a bit before we get there. But the good news is there's at least one beta planned, which you can sign up for right now on the website. You don't need to pre-order, pre-purchase, you don't need to buy a special pack or anything, you just sign up for the beta and away you go. Isn't that nice also? And I do suggest you do sign up for the beta, by the way. As I said in the opening, I don't usually play this particular flavour of shooter, but it just felt really good. The controls and mechanics feel nice and solid, despite me sliding into very bad habits from other kinds of shooters I do play regularly, and trying to be way too aggressive, way too fast with my survivalist specialist character build here. My instinct to run and gun rather than cover and pop is a difficult one for me to break from, and it gets me in trouble in all kinds of games. I really should have been making better use of my grenades and my seeker mines and my special skills. This character class also has a crossbow with explosive bolts, which is fun, but which I also neglected to make good use of. Oh god, it's painful for me to watch this back too.
Friendly division agent is down. Vitals are at dangerous levels.
After the game's release, there's 3 episodes of DLC planned already to keep the game ticking along and the player base engaged and hanging around. Each will add new story content, each will add new gameplay modes, and the best bit is, all 3 DLCs are coming to all players for free. This trend, and it is a very recent trend, is really nice to see. In online games like this, it is so important to have the whole player base on equal footing when it comes to modes and maps and gear availability. And this is a lesson that some other games have learnt, well, the hard way, let's face it.
Gonna lay down some cover.
Now, of course, with only 20 minutes of hands-on time with a game as large and as expansive as this is, it's hardly going to give me the whole story about what the game is and what the game does and how it does it, or even give me enough time to play my role properly, clearly. But I started to get a feel for it, which is the important bit. Now, in-game, once you hit level 30, you get to select a specialization, like sharpshooter, if you prefer sniping, for example. My character was pre-spec'd out for me to what they call a survivalist specialist. Part of that deal includes that crossbow signature weapon. The idea with these specialists is to create a versatile progression system for your character so you can build it out the way you enjoy playing most, with new skills, new weapons, and new talents. Outside of the story missions and quests and such, there's already been talk of 8-player raids and a range of PvP experiences and scalable world tiers. And a newly redesigned and rebalanced Dark Zone, which, if I understood the explanation correctly, is where you'll live for sort of simple loot and level grinding between actual missions. Now, there's a lot of questions still to answer about this game, and a lot of details still to come. But in my short, virgin hands-on with it, all I can tell you for certain is it feels mechanically good and looks gorgeous. Movement, weapons, sound design, controls, and general presentation all feel like they've got a real good amount of polish on them already, which is a very promising sign. Speaking personally, I don't know if this is the kind of game that I will be able to sink into. Historically, I've been a pretty happy single-player guy. But over the last year or two, more and more I've been tempted out of that single-player box. Partly because massive multiplayer online game experiences have gotten a lot more varied, a lot more interesting, and a lot more sophisticated. And of course, partly because fewer and fewer titles are pure single-player stuff, so I have fewer goddamn choices for that, don't I? Either way, this old schooler has been growing to enjoy online multiplayer more and more. And, now this should tell you something, as soon as I ended my demo at E3, and I mean as soon as it ended, I jumped on my phone and signed up for the beta immediately. Because while I'm not sure if this game has the right kind of loops for my hooks, I am very sure I want to play a lot more of it in order to find out for sure. And given the continued and significant investment in support and content Ubi have given the first game, which some other publishers may have stepped back from after its less than spectacular launch, it does give me a lot of confidence that its sequel here will see strong ongoing support with a focus on compelling content and keeping the player base happy and engaged. Whether or not they're successful at it, we'll have to wait and see, of course, but it's a good stance to walk into a game like this with. It is what a game like this needs. So, I'm going to sit here waiting for the beta, with my fingers crossed. Thanks for watching, I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time. Possibly somewhere in... wait, is it... I want to say Detroit. Someone correct me! I haven't fact checked this. It's Detroit, isn't it? This game is based in Detroit. I don't know. Should have checked that before I recorded. Oh well.